Kimberly Stepp, welcome to Radical Wealth Plan.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Give me a little background in terms of how you got into the business, because, commercial investment grade real estate has traditionally been a man's world.
Yes, for sure.
Is it still?
I think it still is. Yeah. I think there's a small percentage of women, but the women that are in the business do very, very well. I think the top 1% of commercial real estate brokers, that a lot of women are in that pool.
That's interesting. I totally get that. Yeah. Until you said it, I didn't think of it, but now I think of, it's like completely male dominated from my viewpoint, except that the women who I know who are in it, like you, absolutely crush it.
Yeah, there's some benefits of being a woman in this business for many reasons. I mean, I think getting indoors where men can't get in. I mean, they seem to say yes to women a little bit more than they do to men. If I call someone up and say, "Hey, I want to come see you," I got a better percentage of chance to get in the door.
Right.
I think so.
I totally believe it.
And especially when you've been out in the marketplace and you also add value and make them money, sometimes they prefer to work with women.
Sure. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. So tell me a bit of the history of you getting into the business, because I know you started in a very different environment. And
yeah, I was an actress here in LA, and I did a lot of TV and film, and it was fun, but not the business for me. So I got my real estate license in '98 and started working at commercial real estate firm at Charles Dunn, and stayed there for almost 2 decades, and then went into KW after that. So it's been great, though. That was wonderful to work at a firm like that. But I do like the entrepreneurial element of what KW offers. So,
how do you get your business? Where does your business come from?
Mostly prospecting and word of mouth and visibility. I market myself a lot. I have a great PR team that gets out all of our sales right away. We speak at any kind of conferences that are available. We're just visible. I would say this is how I do most of my lead generation. And I specialize in certain marketplaces. So if Santa Monica seller, West Side, Prime West Side, I'm usually brought to the table, I'd say about 70% of the time, to underwrite a deal. And then of course, pitch what I do in a different way than other brokers. We do some more institutional grade marketing for non-institutional products. So sometimes how you promote someone's asset and how you sell someone's asset is very, very important in creating a personality with it. So I think we do a really good job with that. So I like to compete at the table, at least, with the main brokers. And so that's my goal, generally speaking, in my marketplace.
Get to the table and then you'll take it from there.
Yeah, if I don't get to the table, I'm upset.
Right. And you said that you're taking an institutional approach to, a product that's not an institutional product. Break that down for me.
Okay. Institutional is larger deals, big deals. My parameter is usually 5 to 50 unit buildings, because West Side doesn't have many 100+ unit buildings in the West Side, but they exist, but not to a grand scale. So institutional buyers don't usually come and pick one off here and one off there. So that's what I mean when I say non-institutional product. It's between like 5 and 100 units. That doesn't really tend to go over that.
Right. And how do you bring an institutional type of marketing or underwriting, or what does that mean?
It's sophisticated. It's comprehensive. We break things down on a financial level, very detailed, with facts and figures in the current marketplace. We also speak to a lot of people in the market, people that are actually doing deals and escrows that are actually being done as we speak, which I believe is the most pertinent information in a market, especially a market like this, where it's volatile and changing all the time. So to have your feet on the ground and really understand the market and specialize there for many, many years, it really helps you have an advantage when you're at the table, because you know what's going on and you can talk about deals that are actually being negotiated or are non-contingent but not closed yet. Every broker can get comps. Every broker can, Google MLS and see what's sold, but that's just basic stuff. Where if you can talk about a deal and actually talk about the underwriting and know the details of a deal because you're so in that market, you can actually have a conversation with a intelligent seller or buyer that is actually in the deal, then you can see how a deal was made, or was there, concessions or any kind of sale discounts at the end, or did they retrade? So if I'm talking to someone today about a deal, I can say, well, that deal was actually retraded and they gave a credit back to this. I'll know the details of the guts of it, which make a big difference when you're talking about it.
Sure. That's very, very niche down market knowledge in a particular market. So in a West Side deal, and is it mainly or all multifamily?
Mainly multifamily, some development sites.
Okay.
Yeah, stick to that product type. I think being a jack of all trades is really a kiss of death in any real estate, but commercial real estate in particular.
Right. Okay. So if I'm looking for multifamily, I could have even a very sophisticated broker, but if they don't know the area like you do, like the back of your hand, then
I beat them usually.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's easy because all I have to do is show how many deals has he sold in this area in the last 10 years? None. I'll just say, I know. If I know the name, I've never heard of him.
And then are you also, you're also probably able to speak to certain sellers that have multiple properties for sale, or certain buyers that are buying. And if you have a listing and you see a buyer coming with an offer that looks pretty good, you might know, oh, well, they have a track record for retrading. Right, and once they get an escrow, then they're going to start,
100%. 100%. There's, many times I'll tell the seller the backstory on a buyer, and sometimes they won't even counter, even if it's at full price, based on the personality and the reputation of the person. And the reputation is easy to make bad in this industry. Yeah, especially amongst brokers that are respected in the town.
And having had the experience myself of being a buyer and a seller in various markets at various times, one of the things as a buyer that I try to do is be a great buyer, because you can get, when you're a great buyer, you can get deals that other people can't get. You can get pricing that other people can't get.
That's right.
And so even if I'm not known in the area, sometimes I'll go in and say, hey, listen, when we open escrow, we agree on a price, we open escrow. I'm going to be really fair. I'm going to be really fair on this. You can expect that I'm not going to come back and retrade, even just giving those assurances, let alone if you have a track record. Also, if you hire a realtor who has a good reputation, then even if I'm a new buyer, I could impress upon you, like I'll do what you tell me to do. You can have good client control. And then you could credibly go to a seller and say, hey, I haven't really worked with this guy much before, but it sounds like this is going to be a good escrow.
Yeah. The proof of funds is a very important part of it, up front, right?
Sure. That's the
have the ability to perform. What if they own in the area also? If they're just a person that came from, downtown Los Angeles that wants Santa Monica, or downtown Los Angeles that wants the Valley. It's not a fit, it's generally speaking. So there's a lower probability of closing. At least I explain it to the sellers that way, because they tend to buy in the same areas that they own, the scale element of it.
What do you see as an opportunity for, do you see an opportunity for buyers right now?
Definitely. Deals that were bought in 2020 to 2022 that were over leveraged. Those are the opportunity, because people are in distressed situations now, and that it's kind of like a feeding frenzy. If you have cash and you can close quickly and get them out of their pain that they're in, whether their loans have matured or that they just have a distressed property, bad tenants, anything like that they just can't take the city of Los Angeles anymore is another reason I hear quite a bit. People are getting out and moving out of state with their equity. I think in those instances, the local buyers who have cash can really, jump in and get great deals right now. Great deals. Most of the guys that are doing deals, I'm hearing it's the cash on cash return must be in the 7s.
Wow.
To get their attention.
And that's a big that's a big departure from where things were not long ago. You'd be like 3.5 or 4.
Yeah. I think the buyer's confidence in this city has gotten really down.
Right.
In being an investor for sure. I mean, they've made regulations so difficult, and they've made so many rules that they just come up with new ones every month. I mean, it's just awful. Tenant, pro tenant, stuff like that.
And so, a lot of times I'll interview someone and they'll say, hey, we're investing over here, we're investing over there, because they don't have any of the crazy pro tenant rules, or they don't have any of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I do believe that also creates an opportunity, so that, I've always invested in places, including, I don't shy away from rent control. So tell me, what are you going to say to, look, you're not going to sell somebody something they don't want, but if you're advising me, do you say stay away from rent control, or do you say no problem, let's go? No,
it's all a matter of income and net operating income. Mm-hmm. So even if it's rent controlled properties, if you have decent rents, or even if there's a 99-year-old that has a $500 rent, you look at the big picture and how long-term hold, or hold this for your family. Is it a generational hold? Is it a 5 to 7 year flip? Add value and not flip, but add value and sell down the line when your loan matures, or the interest only wears off, and those type of things. So if you are able to reposition a property and you buy it well, I think you're going to exit well, generally speaking.
Yeah, that's always been my. I have not been great at. I've had great success at investing. I haven't been great at the execution, so. I can get better at the execution.
When you say better at the execution, you mean managing and
managing and doing all the things, So I'm making sure that I'm making sure I'm, when I close escrow, I've won, and then then it's not maximizing in a way that I could, but you can also set it and forget it,
Yeah, there's juice on the table, that you can still work with, or if God forbid something goes this way, or your tenant doesn't move when you think they're going to, and you get that vacancy decontrol unit.
Yeah.
It's still an excellent property that has great tenants. Right. You have low vacancy, and it operates well, and it's well kept. It's not, it doesn't have a lot of deferred maintenance on it. And it's in a good location. Location is really everything, as it always is in real estate.
And I would say great location is a very good trade-off for deferred maintenance. So now we buy in a great location, and there's a lot of deferred maintenance, and we've got some tenants that have been in there forever. So the rents are, low. Mm-hmm. And in a market like this, that you're going to be able to drive the price down in a way that, you buy and you can set it and forget it. And this whole thing about, it's not in my karma to try and push the 90-year-old man out of the unit. I'm like,
of course, no.
It will. People don't stay as long as you think they might. And I don't even mind, people don't refurbish it because, then they'll stay longer or whatever. It's like, keep the building in good shape. And
it'll serve you long-term.
Yeah. Serve you long-term. Yeah.
And you do usually make the money on the buy in real estate. Commercial real estate as well. It's always on the buy. So I think when you ask the question about opportunities in this market, the buyers are having a field day. They're having so much fun with this, because you can also follow people that have listed properties overpriced.
Yes.
And then expired, and then listed again and expired. That's the deal. Say you look at it, has it been on the market for a year? You call the person, you ask them, why haven't you sold? Is this because of your price, or you haven't found your 1031 exchange to get out of it? Mm-hmm. And you can kind of navigate them much easier. They are a seller, they want to sell. They're not, unless they're testing the market, where there's some of those. But generally speaking, people that put their properties on the market want to sell.
And one of the things that you mentioned was, people that had bought property, let's say for sure prior to 20, early
COVID.
2022.
Or COVID, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big shift.
22 too, yeah.
Yeah, so there was actually a big shift January 2022 to February 2022. Right. That's where like that's where it just started.
There's the interest rates really do control the market.
Oh, absolutely.
There's just lenders are open to short sales, note sales, and creative financing right now. There's outside private banks that I've been hearing about that are really giving aggressive loans to well-located commercial assets.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of getting in the game right now, even if you're not necessarily paying dirt cheap pricing yet.
Yeah, for sure. And also I think it's that's going to continue to happen, because what happens is people will get into, sometimes a fully adjustable, but even if you're at a 5-year adjustable or 7-year adjustable, well, when did you buy it? Did you buy it in 2018, 2019, 2020? Now you've got a 5-year, a 7-year, you've got a very short horizon to a point where and then at that time, you're buying at a price that makes sense at that interest rate. Now interest rates double, and you're staring down the barrel.
There's no more 20 times gross deals happening.
Yes. Yeah.
There's certainly not. I'm shocked how low even the most prime locations are going on the gross rent multiplier level, cap rate level. It's like, whoa. Or even cost per unit and cost per square foot. It's wow. It's a quick drop. It dropped fast, like you said. And the demand for affordable units in my business also remains very strong. And rent growth has slowed very much so in the prime areas, but not in the B locations. So even the B locations going east from say the 405s,
right,
east. Past West Hollywood, of course, but in the east of Hollywood, this area is good still. But if you go a little bit more east, the B location rent growth is good. It is good.
So you're seeing more and more. When you say rent growth, you mean that the rents are really increasing by a percentage in those.
Yes, and there's tenants that will pay it.
Yeah.
You don't have to negotiate.
Yeah, that's right.
And generally speaking, they're lower than the A locations anyway. But in general, that's probably happening.
Right, that's right.
And the fires affected it quite a bit on the A locations, because the fires in the Palisades pushed so many renters into the A markets, whether it was Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And so they just got a huge increase in their rent growth. Yeah. And then it just stabilized.
Right. And I get these, I get the calls from friends and a friend of a friend, and their house burned down, and you feel terrible, of course. And they want to rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Santa Monica that has a yard because they have a dog. And you're like, okay, let's try. Let's see what we can do.
We'll take the dog. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. It's like, the demand for that, out, and then you get these other little oddities where people couldn't raise the rent. So that, I had a friend that, their family was helping them out, and they're willing to pay the higher rent. We couldn't even get it. You can't get it because the rent was suppressed during those periods of time. So it takes away. I understand why you want to protect people, and on the other hand, sometimes you're not really protecting them because
you got to pay your bills.
My folks,
your expenses.
Well, my folks that wanted it couldn't get it because the price. They couldn't compete on price because the price was capped. Yeah. And another thing is, it's why we have different guests. For sure. I cannot predict where office space is going. I cannot predict where industrial is going, leasing,
Industrial's doing good right now.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Of course. But as businesses change, AI is changing making so many different industries obsolete or jobs obsolete and that sort of thing. But people still need a place to live. And that's why the multifamily, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, sure does.
What are you seeing any impact on the tax depreciation, the accelerated depreciation?
Cost segregation?
Yeah, cost segregation and
Oh gosh, yes. They're able to pull money out right away and reinvest it in something else, so they're getting a bang for double bang for their buck, so to speak, and they get that. I did cost segregation on all our buildings, and it was nice amount of change to go buy more real estate.
Yeah. Whether you agree with that law or don't agree with it, the fact of the matter is, you can accelerate depreciation on anything basically other than the structure, which is a 27 and a half year. You can accelerate it to 100%.
Yeah.
And when you do that segregation, meaning segregating out the different parts of the building that have different rates of depreciation, this is where people can really use real estate to shield income taxes
and build a lot of wealth.
And build a lot of wealth
preservation for sure.
I it shocks me to know that more people aren't seeing that. So now if you take, it's like roll back into this deal where, I've got the client and, they don't want Santa Monica because it's rent control and but now you can get it at a cap rate that sort of makes sense even at rent control. Then what you have is you have inside of that deal this built-in delta that whenever somebody, if it already makes sense, if you can make it make sense with rent control, then over time it's going to totally explode. And I just interviewed somebody who's buying, rent control buildings, and they just look at the, okay, so this one unit is $500 a month. It should be, $1,700 a month. So that's a $1,200 delta that will come someday. And they're like me, they're not even doing cash for keys or anything. They're like, have at it. They went in and fixed this guy's, the rest of the building was fixed up and his one unit wasn't fixed up because I guess the landlord didn't want to do it because they're rent control. I mean,
they wanted them to leave.
Yeah. And he just went in and did the inspection. He goes, wow, there's a crack here. It's probably causing some leaking.
Yeah.
I'm going to replace your bathroom. And the guy's like, wow, this is great. And, it doesn't hurt to build that goodwill.
You can get in trouble with the city,
if you don't do it.
If you don't do it.
Yeah. So his was a buy and hold and hold and hold. And so he's like, I'm going to fix this guy's unit and he's way under rent and that's fine. Maybe will it cause him to stay an extra year longer because his unit's fixed up? Maybe, and that's okay. And maybe not. In the meantime, I'm going to have this deferred maintenance out of the way. And this is a hold and taking advantage of that massive tax gain. Yeah.
Agreed.
What sort of opportunities are you seeing? Give me a real deal. Like, an actual example. Kimberly, I've got some dough. I'm interested in investing. What are you going to do for me? What do you recommend? I'm a family friend. You want to make what? And you know what? If you're a great realtor, which I know you are, you're going to do right by your clients because they're then clients for life anyway.
I would say buy B locations in the area you want to be in. You get much better deals than the A location. So if you're in, say, Santa Monica, north of Montana, they're never going to go down to a certain number that is going to make economic sense in this market anyway. The very few deals have traded in the north of Wilshire market. But many have traded near the college. Let's use that example.
Sure.
Or over near Cloverfield or West LA.
Sure.
Even it depends really. It depends if they're hard to find. But when you find them, they're pretty apparent. I would look at all expired and withdrawns and canceled listings that were on the market for a long time and hit
just
those
start
people.
Calling them.
Hit those people. Yes.
And hey, I have a real buyer. This person's going to perform. We want a really solid deal, but get us a really solid deal, and we're going to we'll close this thing for you.
Yeah, so I definitely would look at those opportunities. I would look at loan maturation. Find out.
Sure.
When people their loans are coming up, it's definitely a time to speak to them because the market for interest rates and refinance is just shit still. Not great,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so because this is a national podcast, I'm going to relate some of those areas. So when Kimberly is saying prime Santa Monica, you're really talking about a prime location. And when she's talking about a B location, she's not talking about, a bad location. It's just a step outside of that prime location. a step outside of that, really, the A plus rents. And so to take it, into a total middle market that I happen to be familiar with is like Pittsburgh, where I started. And so started investing there, I would gravitate toward, an income generating area, like where the schools and hospitals are.
Parks.
So there's like all this money is going, like, UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center doesn't just serve Pittsburgh. It's a whole regional thing. So people come from everywhere. So it's a magnet for income. And right around that area, really tight around that would be the A area. And then not that much further away is already you're hitting the Bs. And so that's where you're saying there's real opportunity, because even right now, the real A areas people are still hanging on to that top dollar, but
expectations are too high in this market. I think out of state deals are fantastic right now.
Mm-hmm.
I own 2 in Indiana that are cash flowing incredibly. I mean, they're cash cows.
And how do you do that? How do you you're going to go to Indiana? I mean,
okay, Indiana, Phoenix, red states tend to be better opportunities. It's just the way it is. Generally speaking, there's just more opportunity there. And I think that overall costs are lower, generally speaking.
Right.
And I think that like say in Indiana, I get 12%, 13% returns regularly. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Phoenix, some Nevada. It's just opportunities are you can buy a heck of a lot more for your dollar.
Mm-hmm.
The cost per units are like $50,000 a unit versus $500,000 a unit.
So I want you to help me out with this, because one of the things that I did a long time ago as a guest on a great podcast, Bigger Pockets, I did this episode, which was one of their hits at the time. And I did my 3 rules that I follow that have led me to never lose money on a real estate deal. And one of them was buy where you know. And so I know, and trust me, I get it. There's a lot of people that have made a lot of money and, could be a lot smarter than me on that. And I just stick with the areas that I know. That's why the only property I own is in Pittsburgh, which is sort of legacy property. And then here in LA, and I bought stuff in Joshua Tree, which if it's driving distance, I consider that, that's good enough. But are you using your network of realtors?
Yeah, there's for sure relationships that we've made and cultivated over the years in Florida, in Texas, in Cincinnati, Ohio / Indiana. And so we have bought in those markets. Not only do we have relationships with the agents that we've performed with as buyers, as a buyer. You also have the relationships with the management companies, which is critically important when you're buying an asset, because you can get robbed basically and completely, give half your cash flow away if you're mismanaged by any.
Absolutely.
I've had to go through multiple management companies in these different cities that we've bought in. One of the cities that we bought in was the best man in our wedding, who runs a management company there. So, we trust him. We give him 10% of the deal. We also incentivize someone to bring us a deal. They immediately become a 10% partner.
I like to hear you say that, because you're obviously a very seasoned professional, and if somebody brings me a deal in Indiana, I'm saying no to it. You're possibly saying yes.
I obviously know in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there you go, Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh.
I don't know it.
I could say yes, but
if you're not a partner in Pittsburgh,
yeah. At what point are you? Is it just the return? The return is so high. What's causing you to look at it, and how do you get the deal?
Get the deal with relationships. You go and visit the areas and take brokers to dinner, schmooze, so to speak, with the local active brokers in the areas that you're looking at. Ask them a lot of questions, pick their brains, because they're the professionals in the area. So pick their brains, ask them about the regular metrics that work across commercial real estate anywhere, is cap and
sure,
per door and all of those
sure
ideas. So, I mean, all those, there's only 4. So if you,
what are the 4?
Cap rate,
Okay,
gross rent multiplier, cost per unit, and cost per square foot. And most buyers and most people look at the price per pound, so to speak, and cost per square foot as the general number one buying indicator. Cost per square foot.
Wow. I can tell you, maybe I should be ashamed to say, maybe I should be nervous saying this. I never would look at cost per square foot.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what is the return? What is the return now? What is the return going to be? So if you're buying something that's totally fixed up in the A area, there's not going to, whatever growth is going to be is going to be. Mm-hmm. Generally, I don't buy that. I'll buy in the B area. I would like it to have a lot of deferred maintenance. Right. I'd like it to have, I'm not looking for a complete redo, but go in and do some nice things. You can change it. You can change the character of a building with what I believe is very little money.
Even the facade sometimes can just completely change the whole building.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just putting in nowadays, it's so low cost relative to what it used to be, is you put in a phenomenal security system. You've got the buzzer, the camera, the whatever.
Yes,
now you've now taken a building that was, mostly safe to very safe. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't cost that much money to do.
Right.
So yeah, I never look at cost per unit or cost per square foot. It does not even cross my mind.
Right. Because it's a real easy number. It's like apples to apples, right? That's why most astute, and I'm not saying you're not astute.
I love it.
Investors tend to look at cost per square foot as the number one, for sure. All the pros do. That's all they care about, because it could be 30 times gross and $100 a square foot, and they want that bad, real bad, like firstborn bad. Like, you know what I mean? They really, they salivate, like unbelievable. And most people that say, put it this way, brokers that don't know how to look, don't know how to, they overprice the deal. It looks like it's overpriced, right? Except for those 4 indicators you just have to look at, and they all have to marry each other a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a soup, so to speak, throw a little extra cost per square foot in there. But in general, though, that's really the best way of looking at real estate. And of course, return is important, obviously. But if you buy it right at a cost per square foot like that, you have a lot of juice to work with. Yeah. Cost per square foot, low cost per square foot will sell all the time.
And another factor that's not in your 4, it's my least favorite one, is replacement cost. Is anybody ever looking at that?
Replacement cost for the unit, like, if I had to build it new, it would cost, 20 million, but it's only 10 million. That's not really irrelevant. Okay. That's good. That doesn't really come up that often.
That's good, because that's one that I'm like, I have less than zero interest in that. But the cost per square foot. So I guess maybe that's why I love this podcast, because I learn as I go, especially in multifamily, which I feel like I know and have a lot of experience in.
Yeah, you don't want to pay a high cost per square foot. You'll exit with very little. Even if you add value to it, you're still at the cost per square foot. It stays in place. Your basis is the cost per square foot.
And I guess that does wash into that's going to wash into the rate of return.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah. But if I do,
I think so. Generally speaking.
But if I do a rate of return, like let's go to a B area, like you were talking about, and let's say I can get a 7% cash on cash. Is that possible?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
I have a great one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's say, and a
great cost per square foot too.
Okay, so let's say that I'm getting a 7%, and the building has a value add, or can you get maybe it would push it down a little bit, so let's say it's 5%, but the building is a dump and I know I can fix it up and do lots of good things. And, by the time I fix it up, and like I said, I want to make the money on the way in. Yeah. And so then I buy it and I've got my 5% and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get around to first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the security thing. That's inexpensive. As units come open, then I'm going to really, trick them out in a cost-effective way. I'm going to get rents up that way. I'm going to take that 5 eventually to a 12. That's possible, right? Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So why do I care about cost per square foot?
Well, on your exit, you have to care about your cost per foot as well.
Okay.
So buying in on the low, and keep in mind what capital you're putting in, right? You want to be able to.
That's right.
And then on your exit, adding it all together, you want to be able to have a saleable square foot.
Let's say our market cap rate is really a 6, and we can get that. We can sell that. Mm-hmm. But you're going to sell me a 5. And I'm going to want the 5 because I'm looking at all the deferred maintenance and I'm going to do all this value add and eventually and all that kind of stuff. Now, if I buy it at a 5, I put obviously money into it, money, time, energy, effort. Now I've got it to a 12. I'm basically looking at, I've just doubled the value of the asset. Mm-hmm. And I still haven't looked at the cost per square foot.
It's an indicator that on the exit, it depends who your buyer is. But when you want you asked about opportunities, that's where you look at when the opportunities. Okay. If you're selling it to a mom and pop, they don't look at cost per square foot.
Right.
They look at return. They look at return, or they look at the cap rate.
Yeah.
Or that's all they care about. They want the finished product. There's only 2 people in the food chain in commercial real estate. 2. Really, there's the pros and the mom and pops. Mm-hmm. So mom and pops buy from the pros, and the pros buy from the mom and pops over and over and over again. Uh-huh. It's just the way it is. Right. So pros don't usually buy from each other. Mm-hmm. Very rare. Mm-hmm. Only if they really need the asset in their portfolio, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to study the cost per square foot.
Look at it for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna look at the deals that I look at as cap rate
and cost per square foot together. Those two are the most.
I'm gonna look at it the way I generally look at it, and I'm gonna see what the cost per square foot and how that.
If you look at say cost per unit, you could have a big building or a small building cost per unit, right?
Right, that's right.
You have a massive building, the cost per square foot is going to be low.
Right, that's right.
So
and you're going to be able to do more with it.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why single units, single unit buildings, people kind of shy away from.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's not. They like 1s and 2s more than.
Now I'm taking up what you're putting down. Yeah, I can see that where the same exact return profile where cost per square foot is going to be lower. You're just going to be getting larger units.
Right.
And over time, you're going to do better with that.
Right. So even if you have a bigger building with low cost per square foot, the cap rate has to be good to make it a deal as well still.
That's right.
So, right.
That's right.
It's really those.
Oh, now I finally got it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just went from mom and pop
to pro.
I
think you're in the pro category.
15 minutes with
because mom and pops don't usually take. Some of them do, but they just kind of do the bare minimum. Those are the people that don't fix up that unit you just talked about.
Right.
They're the ones that they've owned it for 30, 40 years. They go by, they pick up the mail, they say hi to their tenants. Mm-hmm. They don't want to spend the money because it's dilapidated a little bit, and they just don't really put too much thought into it for as long as they own it. They just get their checks. A lot of them don't even raise rents on some of these deals. I mean, I'm shocked sometimes. They just want the check to come in and they don't want to lose a tenant because for them, having the vacancy is painful. Versus a pro who will come in and want the vacancy because he sees the big picture much clearer, which is not hard to see. But at the same time, mom and pops don't like to change much. Pros love to change lots of things. So when I bought in Austin, a lot of people, when the market's crashing here, there's certain markets also to not buy into because you should have bought into them before the LA markets crash. I mean, I've learned this through talking to pros. They're like, you bought Austin when? I'm like, And I'm no wonder it's a crap deal. We have a deal in Austin. It's like just barely. It just since the interest rates went up, we're just not cash flowing. So all the money that the building makes goes back into the building and get back to the building. Right. And now we're
So you're saying trends nationally. Say that again.
Things trend. Each out of state opportunity zone, so to speak, has different challenges. Florida has insurance issues just like California. Right. So you have to really think about that when you go to Florida. Dallas is strong, but say Austin's a hip town that everybody was like, oh my God, you have to buy in Austin. And yes, it's cheaper than in Los Angeles, but it got oversaturated with too much product. And then you can't rent your units. You have high vacancy. It's just things that you didn't think about. You thought, I'm going to buy low cost per unit over there.
Right.
Low cost per unit over there. And it's right next to the college, but it doesn't matter. There's like there's too much new product on out there. So if your building's not brand new with a ton of amenities, you're competing with that. Even as like you said, right outside the college, we have a 30 unit building that we bought 3-4 years ago in an exchange. And it's been terrible because it just doesn't feed itself. Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me present a scenario to you. There's one thing which is highly unscientific, so maybe extra mom and pop, and that is the 1% rule. And you look at what is the cost of the asset, and if you could get 1% of the cost of the asset as a gross rent, that would be like a major home run. Now, I like it because the math is so easy.
So you're saying like a $3 million building, you want to get
30,000
per month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
per month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it's,
okay.
Wow. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. So
and that
$3 million. So, and if we ran through all the math on that and you go, okay, well, it's a $3 million property. 1% of that is 30,000. We're never going to get that. But when I look at like luxury rentals or whatever in LA, at least I've got that math and I just cut it in half. Now I'm at 15,000 a month. So even that, I guess, sounds high. Let's say you can buy a house for $220,000 somewhere, Omaha, Nebraska. I have a friend that invests and great realtor in Omaha, Nebraska. He's going to $220,000 house and he can get $2,000 a month in rent, which is very close to the 1%. And so why not run there to do it? And my answer to that is, okay, so you can get, let's say 0.8, 0.9, you're closing in on the 1% there. Maybe I can only get 0.5% in LA, but years and years and years later, the house is worth.
Appreciation rates are huge to look at as well. Very, very important. Yeah, I mean, Indiana doesn't have an appreciation rate. It's coupon clipper.
Okay.
Right.
So you invested in Indiana.
Coupon.
You're clipping your coupons at 12%.
Yeah.
Couldn't I make an argument to
just like a Walgreens or a CVS? I bought a triple net.
Okay.
That's what it kind of is.
Okay. Couldn't I make an argument to, hey, you know what? Don't go to Indiana. Call my friend Kimberly Stepp, and she's going to put you in you're a long-term hold and you have deep pockets where you can, like doctors, CPAs, attorneys, entertainment advisors, those type of people have access to clients and people and themselves where they, have a lot of money. So they need to diversify from their regular income at their jobs, which they're not in the real estate business. Those are actually the best buyers in the market, are the people that aren't in real estate, that don't do this full time. And like the doctors that just using doctors, for instance, they buy Los Angeles because they want the wealth preservation over time and to give it to their children. So, that is huge in itself, because in other areas, you're just parking money almost in a bank account and getting like a coupon clipper, which is a different type of investment than buying a 4 cap or a 5 cap. If you're in this market, you can buy a 5 cap easily.
holding on to it and riding out hopefully not over leveraging yourself.
Right.
That's hugely important, not to over leverage yourself.
Right.
And I think the market, the 50-50 leverage or the 40-60 leverage, which is
Sure.
really what we're looking at in prime locations.
Sure.
Nobody's getting more than 50% loan on anything
Sure.
underwritten.
Sure.
So you're parking your money and you are also buying long-term appreciation.
Right. And in essence, that does answer the question for me. One of the things I love about technology is sometimes I'll talk to a guest and I'll just like have ChatGPT running at the same time, you know. And one of the things I did was I had David Bailey, my co-owner at Keller Williams Beverly Hills. I had David Bailey on the podcast last week, and he's a terrific investor. He buys like almost what you could call legacy properties, and he just bought 2 in West Hollywood. He was very proud of it because I think there's a certain number. I think it's 20 units that you have to have. If you have more than 20 units, you have to have an on-site manager.
Yeah.
And he bought, 2 buildings, and one was 18 and the other was 16. And they're near each other. So he feels like he got, the whole thing without
so that's
that.
a huge savings.
Yeah.
You know?
And while you were talking about that, I was like, hey, do you look at cost per square foot, or do you look at cap rates or whatever? And, he's very, very nuanced. And he said, I look at cap rate first, then loss to lease. That's the term I forgot. I had never heard it said that way. Yeah, that's upside. It's a fancy way of saying upside, loss to lease. So he's got the one tenant in there that's paying $700. It should be $2,200. So he knows that delta is his loss to lease.
But he has to hold it a long time.
Yeah.
So that's the gamble.
Absolutely.
That's the gamble. So you don't really know that. As long as you keep it in your family forever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you should buy with lower paying tenants.
But then he did say, I do look at cost per square foot to determine if the upside is real.
Right.
And that I'm buying below replacement cost, which is the one thing that I think I never look at. But when I say upside is real, what I mean is if the cost per square foot is high, rents most likely are at or above market. Yeah, because then you're getting a smaller.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sold. Yeah, I'm sold. I graduate from
I'm
from
so glad. I'm so glad.
mom and pop to pro. This is why that's why I do this. It's not to educate.
You're here for you.
Yes, I'm here for me. I have a good friend who's in the health space, Rich Roll, and he started podcasting before anybody started podcasting. He got the Rich Roll podcast, and he interviews. He has not missed an episode. I mean, obviously he's probably recording enough, so he's got some in the can, right? Or he's got many in the can, but he hasn't missed an episode release, knowing him probably in 10 years. And he interviews like the smartest people. And I'm just like, it's impossible for you not to be like a genius after like you're talking once a week to people. His podcasts run long, he's talking once a week to people. When he talks to them before the podcast and after the podcast, he's reading their book, like after 10 years of that, you got to know everything.
You have to implement it too.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Thank you for saying that. That's,
I sometimes, check myself too, because I love to get knowledge from other people. And that's why I wanted you to show me the podcast that I should look at. And, cause I'm just, it's very valuable to understand other ways of doing things that you're not normally.
For sure. For sure. But you're absolutely right. And that's the seminar junkies, just I'm going to watch. And then at the end of the day, you have to do. And I say it all the time. One of my favorite sayings on that is, you can't learn how to ride a bicycle in a seminar.
That's right.
You could be like,
the
physics lesson or the whatever, but at the end of the day, you got to get out there and do it.
Like I was saying to you earlier, building a team with people that you are proud to work with is also very important. I think, I've come across many, many people that want to join my team, but at the same time, their work ethic doesn't come at the level that I expected, or you're not going to
Sure.
get results.
Sure.
And there's so many of those people out there.
Sure.
So many of those people.
I know.
I mean, it's kind of, it's like a needle in a haystack to find talent that you want to build your business with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we have, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, I love this. This is great. Call me anytime.
It's great. It's great. I learned some important stuff today, which is wonderful. And I'd love to do a fire round with you, which is just, I'll ask you, sometimes they're big and deep questions and, they could have long answers, but I just ask, one after the other, and we'll get through some cool ones.
Sure.
Okay. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Love being with my children.
What's your greatest fear?
Biggest fear? Wow, I don't know if I have. And that drowning.
What's your favorite childhood memory?
Christmases and travel with my mom and dad.
What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
I look like my daughter.
What's an insult you've received that you're proud of?
How do you make money in this business as a girl?
What's the trait you most deplore in others?
Laziness, lack of work ethic.
What talent would you most like to have?
Spanish dancing.
What's your greatest extravagance?
Travel.
What's your most treasured possession?
My home with the value of my home, the deep history of my home with my kids.
There are a lot of great hikes in LA, and you go on one of these great hikes, a lot of energy to get up to the top, and you get to the top of the hillside and you look down, and it's your family and your colleagues at work and your community, and you shout one thing. What do you shout?
I love you.
I love that you had that without hesitation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really, really a pleasure.
Yeah, it's likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was fun.